Hello YouTube. This camera's been sitting outside because I've been working outside. My name is Moose. I'm a real estate investor and right now I'm working on finishing building my new garage, and boy is that getting foggy. Let's give you another wipe here. That's a bit better. Probably come back in just a minute because it's still really cold. If you've been watching the videos, you know that my garage has recently fallen down and that now we're skipping ahead in time a little bit because I'm slow at editing and wow, it is fogging up again right away. And yeah, this is going to be my official review of the new GoPro Hero 9 Black firmware version 1.5. TLDR, avoid at all costs if you're a streamer. And we'll get into why here shortly. I just got it. So as you can tell, I use a GoPro when I'm streaming, and it has been my primary streaming camera for basically since I got it. I also stream with a secondary camera, usually this one, that is attached via HDMI, but it's a real chore to move this thing around, especially when I'm working in all different parts of a garage. Not fun with still camera on your own, so this has been great. And here we go again. Upside of that is it lets me have total POV first-person view control over the stream, and lets everyone see what I'm doing as I'm doing it from my point of view, and that's really nice and has actually helped grow the stream a little bit. So if you're not following the stream, head on over to twitch.tv/moosedoesstuff. Hey, shameless plug. Today I went to start streaming, and right before that I installed the new firmware 1.5 on this GoPro. This GoPro was a present from a friend, and this GoPro I had to go buy today because it basically made this one useless. We'll get into why it's useless here in just a second. So normally when I'm streaming with this, I'm attached to my Wi-Fi access point, Ubiquity, great little round UFO that sits on the ground and usually gets tossed around way too much for its own good, but it seems pretty sturdy and I kind of like it. This attaches to my Wi-Fi. It goes to this computer, which has an RTMP server running on Nginx. It attaches to there. From there, I pick it up in my OBS studio here, and then from there, I do a whole bunch of other shenanigans, and it ends up eventually down at the Twitch server. Normally, when I was starting this one up, and now when I start this one, which has the old firmware up, it starts at around 2500 kilobits per second, and oh hey, there it goes. Yeah, you can see it's working right here. Look. Look. This goes from black to, look, there's something happening. And like you can see stuff moving around right there. So like this is still attached, still going. Good job GoPro on that part. Normally when this starts on the phone app, you connect it, it says it's running at 2500 kilobits per second. I've asked GoPro to increase that before because especially like it gives you the option to stream 1080-60 at 2500 kilobits per second. GoPro must have absolutely no clue whatsoever about what streaming is or what streaming quality is or what kind of compression has to happen if you're trying to push 1080-60 through 2500 kilobits per second. It just looks like trash. Don't do it. I put it down to 720, and so that this, when it starts at 2500, eventually it figures out that I've got a better connection, and it slowly creeps up to just under 4000 kilobits per second, which for 720, not terrible. Not ideal. I'd like to get to like 6,000 or 8,000 kilobits. Then I could maybe start looking at pushing some 1080. Point is, this started at 2500 and would creep its way up to 4000. That's what this one does right now. Let's make sure you're nice and clean. If I pull my phone app out, go to my GoPro screen. So we are currently at 3000 kilobits a second, 3155. So, you know, it starts creeping up. Eventually it'll get up to around 4000. It depends on how far away and what's in between the GoPro and the access point. 3155. Workable. You can see it on stream. Quality's alright. It's not spectacular, but it'll do for a 720p stream. Hey, 3255, look, it's creeping. It's creeping. Let's stop that one. And you'll just have to sort of believe that it gets up to 4,000. We'll put our battery in the old one. This one has the new firmware. That one has the stock firmware, that whatever came with it. I wonder if I can find out what that is. I mostly don't care, I just know that it's not the latest. Here we go. Version number. We're not going to focus, but it says 1.21. Probably GoPro won't believe me about that. Beep, beep, beep. Set up live. Other RTMP. So here we go. Searching for networks. We're at 720. This is slow. This is way too slow. It should not be that difficult. Connecting to UBNT. Continue. Go live. What? What? Does that say 800? What? That's not 20. That's not 4,000. What's going on? Well, let's see if we can get it to pick up, because the Engine X is a little bit funky, but I want to make sure that you can see that it is actually picking it up on the stream here. Okay, there we go. You can see it moving around over here. Now, by this point, you would have expected that if the Wi-Fi access point was literally just out the door, that this would be creeping up. But no, we're still down at 800. Can we focus on that camera, please? Focus? Maybe? Who knows? Anyway, that's down at 800 still. And let's do a quick record, and we'll start recording. Pick this up, give it a slow move around the room, and back. Wow, that artifacting. And then we'll stop that recording. Hey, we're still down at 800. 800 kilobits a second. You think you're going to get 720p? You think you're going to get 360p out of that? No, man. No. So we're going to turn off this one. There we go, powering off. We're going to turn this one back on. Oh, it's still on. Okay, this is fine. Okay, that one's still on. It's got 55% battery. This happens with any percent battery. There we go. Connection lost. Okay. Switch to the other camera. Control your GoPro. Oh, they're probably going to want to see that this is actually version 1.5 because GoPro doesn't believe you. Ah, see, old firmware connecting to the new camera that I just got with the old firmware. It wants to do an update. How about later? As in never, because don't use version 1.5 firmware. No SD card, that's okay. Set up live, other RTMP, same settings. And yeah, connect. Oh hey, that's more green. That's a different, that's 2,500. 2,500 kilobits. Okay, so we'll let that go for a minute. We'll make sure the Engine X source refreshes here because we're going to do a record on that. We're going to go to preferences. This is on the old one that I did do the update for. So this one has, come on, version 1.5 on it. There we go. Camera info. Version 1.5. Now GoPro didn't believe me about this. They basically told me, Pixar, it didn't happen. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to hear that from the GoPro people. So we're done with this guy. Hey, look at this. Remember what I said about it starting to creep up? We're at 2937 kilobits now. So we started at 2,500 and now we're at 2937. That's more than 800, right? So we're going to do another record on this. Try to give you an idea of what the difference between 2,500, I guess we're at 2,900? Oh no, we're at 3,043 now, compared to 800 is. Boy, that looks sharper. Put that back down. Wow, so much less artifacting. Now I understand that this is not an exact perfect, I set it up on a tripod and I did exactly, wow, 3146 now. It's going up still. This is not an exactly perfect apples to apples comparison, but I think you'll see the footage is bad enough between the two that it's not even going to be questionable. Wow, that looks like such trash in comparison. So here's where I will come back and throw those in. And I'm also going to throw in, because, hey, 3252, it's still going up. Still going up. I'm also going to throw in a recording of the conversation that I had with the customer support manager at GoPro. That was super not great. Personal feedback to the good people at GoPro here. And to anyone else who might be interested in just how are you dealing with your customers. They already know that I'm a live streamer, that this is essentially my job over on Twitch, and that my being able to make money and eat food because I have money to spend on food depends on my equipment working. When you are dealing with someone like that, don't make the first thing you ask them, have you checked your Wi-Fi? Okay? It just, yes, I understand you are following a script, but by the time you get to a manager callback, not only has this script been followed by your first level support people, but if you have read the notes, which he had, and you understand that this is my job, which it is, then you should have some comprehension that maybe, yes, I would have in fact actually checked the Wi-Fi first. So I'm going to include the phone call that I had with this guy that I actually had while I was streaming, that I had to tell him twice that I'm streaming right now because he just didn't want to listen to anything I had to say. I'm going to include that here. Maybe I came off a little bit harsh on the guy, but their response so far had been, we don't believe you, and even if it's true, we're not going to do anything about it. Maybe it might get fixed later in a future patch. That's it. So this equipment that I use to do my job so that I can, you know, get paid and buy food and pay mortgage and everything, like, because of this firmware update, my only option was to go to Best Buy and buy another one that is not updated to the latest firmware. Because this one is totally unusable now. This one with version 1.5 is unusable for streaming. 800 kilobits is absolutely unusable. And speaking of kilobits, here is 3,832. Hopefully that'll be enough in focus that you can see it there. Enter in the part where you get to hear his response, which basically not only boiled down to check your Wi-Fi, but we don't believe you, send us proof. Yes, we believe you, but we're not going to do anything about it without proof anyway. Like, do you think customers calling, complaining about a problem if it's not a problem, and then continue to want to escalate that to a manager if it's not actually a problem? Do you think we wait and require callbacks if it's not a problem? Do you think that I go down to Best Buy and drop another 600 Canadian dollars to get a working camera that will do what I need it to do for the job that is paying my bills if it's not actually a problem? Like, the we need proof mentality is, hey, 3,921 is so belittling and dismissive of the customer. If there were any other options on the market, I would not only say don't use the firmware, I would say do not use GoPro, don't support people who treat their customers like this. If anyone does know of some other cameras that I can stream at least 720p with at least 2500 to hopefully better than, 3500 kilobits per second to a local RTMP server, please let me know. I would be very happy to get away from GoPro at this point. So here's the call.
Ultron_QC says bad driver Kappa.
Yep, that's me.
Dave_M84 says Moose just killed his Yoshida. Top marks Moose.
Yes.
Terminator 4D says one of those days for him.
In regards with the bitrate when streaming live using the camera.
Yes.
Alright. John, I'd like to confirm, you mentioned about something about a firmware. So you were able to verify that after updating the firmware to version 1.5, the bitrate is static at 800.
Yes. Yes.
Have you tried using a different
Ultron_QC says, huh?
isolate the problem?
So what I did to make sure that it wasn't my Wi-Fi network was, first off, I didn't change anything with the Wi-Fi network, so there should be no changes there. I also put my phone on airplane mode and attached it just to the Wi-Fi with just the Wi-Fi, so I'm not using any mobile data, I'm not on 5G, I'm not on the network at all, and I did a speed test there, and I'm getting upwards of 60 megabits up and down. And then I went to Best Buy and I bought another GoPro and I brought it back and I did not update the firmware, and it is able to connect to the same Wi-Fi with starting at 2500 kilobits per second and slowly creeps up to 4000 kilobits per second. So I'm fairly sure that this is not an issue with my Wi-Fi.
Okay, do you have the camera right now? Could you set it up and send me a picture or a screenshot? Because if that's the case, then I need to reach this to the advanced technical team.
I can get that to you later if you send me an email to where I can respond with that. But right now I'm busy live streaming because, like I said, I had to go and buy another camera because this is basically bricked my GoPro for what I have to do for work.
I see. Just to confirm, John, your email address.
Yes.
Okay, I'll send you an attachment link on where you can send me a screenshot or picture of the bitrate.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to make an entire video explaining exactly what's going on, and I'll put that up on YouTube and let people know, do not upgrade to version 1.5 if you're using live streaming. Especially if there's no way to downgrade the firmware. If the firmware for the older version isn't even available, this camera that I had, the original camera, is completely useless to me. It's a $600 brick.
I see. I didn't take note of that, John. However, I'll go ahead and try it on my end as well. Okay, I'm just charging my camera, preparing to live stream so that I can relay the information to the team. Alright?
Okay.
Could you confirm, John, if you received the link?
Nope, because like I said, I'm live streaming right now. I'm at work right now. So I'll have to check it back later. As long as you send it to that email address, it should be fine.
Okay, cool. Yes, I did send it just right now, okay? I'll go ahead and wait for your pictures or video. If you can create video, then that would be great, alright?
Okay.
I'll forward it to the team, alright? I'll partner with them.
Now, what about getting this brick that I have to actually be not a brick anymore? Is there anything we can do about that, or are you just trying to collect some data and maybe something will change in a future firmware update someday?
Well, that's to be determined once the team review the video. John, once we confirm that there's really a problem with the version.
So what I'm hearing right now is that you don't believe what I'm telling you until you can see video or photo evidence of it.
I think they talk, but the team needs to approve for that. They can try it on their end, but again, maybe it's gonna be, different results. But we would like to get it from you because you experienced a problem. Because right now I tried live streaming earlier. The bitrate is not static at 800. So.
Were you live streaming to an RTMP? Were you live streaming to an RTMP server, or were you live streaming to GoPro.com?
Just Facebook. I just tried on Facebook.
All right, well, I'll get you that video. It sucks that GoPro doesn't want to believe its customers.
We do believe, John, but we just need to collect data. All right.
Okay, well, the data that I'm going to give you in a video is going to be exactly the same as the data that I've told you on the phone, and what I told your original customer support service person. So I don't, that doesn't really line up with just you need to collect data.
I'll go ahead and wait for that, John.
Okay, cool.
All right. So there. Once I have the video, expect that I'll be raising this to the advanced technical department, and we'll send you an update as soon as we hear back from them. Okay?
Great. Are you going to send me any way so that I can unbrick my old GoPro?
Well, the video is working. It's just that the live streaming is static at 800 kbps. We'll do something about it, of course.
Okay.
All right. I'll go ahead and wait for that.
Okay, bye.
Bye for now.
Final thoughts time. Ricky at GoPro, when someone tells you they're live streaming right now, maybe don't make the very next thing you do read out their personal email address, okay? Like, I get that doxing people can be a whole lot of fun, but as a representative of GoPro, maybe not the best plan. And when a customer tells you that they are doing their job right now, and that they can't access the camera, and they're busy doing a thing right now, maybe that also means that they can't check their email, and you shouldn't immediately just follow the script at every turn and ask them to check their email. And hey, while we're at it, maybe don't go out of your way to try to personalize the situation by using their name at every opportunity when they've told you that they're live streaming. Like, I get that GoPro is used to just dealing with video people, but now that GoPro is specifically and intentionally supporting live stream on several of the biggest platforms that there are, including apparently their own GoPro.com platform, and allowing for customized RTMP servers so that you can stream to anywhere you want to, there's got to be some basic understanding that you don't read out personal information, including the person's name, once they've told you that they're live streaming. Because you don't know, as the GoPro customer service representative, manager, person, whatever title you want to claim to have right now, you don't know whether the stream can hear what's going on with the phone. You don't know what the situation is with the stream unless you go out of your way to say, hey, are you okay to talk about some of these details because you're streaming right now? Really basic stuff. You guys got to get your act together about this. Had to throw that in at the end because, man, watching through the footage of the phone call, you don't do this in 2020. Like, this stuff was sorted out years ago. GoPro, get your act together. That's all there is to say.